I wanted to show you a few sketchbooks that I brought. They show some variety of what I do from the last 5 years. So in these sketchbooks, I have a lot of life drawing, also paired with some illustrations that I just did on my own free time, some professional work. So it really is a mixture of everything. Looking back at it, I can see how I was pushing certain things in each sketchbook. I'll start with the one from 2019. This sketchbook is heavily on me trying to play around with omitting a lot of details and see how much I can omit before it gets too convoluted what I want to do. I can see like some of my anatomy was lacking here, which for good or bad, it happens. I think always breaking a new sketchbook, I feel like I'm rusty and I have this like pressure to create. So getting those first few drawings knocked out of the way really helps with getting that like own pressure off of yourself. I think I went to the zoo here, which again, life drawing, always fun to just take a sketchbook, go somewhere, start having fun with it. I had some watercolor with me and I really wanted to do some like fine details here, but the paper was a little bit unforgiving. It didn't let me blend the colors as smoothly as I can. So instead of really pushing for the blend and getting upset with it, I started laying a ton of colors to create those blends by simply layering adjacent colors and shades next to each other. So you can tell I began with a lot of life drawing. Life drawing to me is such a quick and easy tool to get the muscle going and also to like get the pressure off yourself to create. Because a lot of times I feel like I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to art. I just start doubting and overthinking and then it just stops me in my tracks. But with the years, I know like that's worse than actual drawing and then having a few drawings that suck before I'm comfortable and warmed up enough where I'm like, okay, now I'm in the groove. So I don't allow myself to not draw for more than, I want to say, like a week. Because after that, it's really hard to get back on track. But I know I need it almost like needing vitamins. I know this sketchbook was a lot about omission, but I didn't start like getting rid of elements just yet. Mostly just, some shading here and there, depending on the pose length. And if I'm not mistaken, these are not even from life. I think I was using a bunch of different references and then making sure that the hair, accessories, everything is the same. So it looks like it's the same model. But these are all different people. So almost like a fake life drawing session. I didn't want the fact that I couldn't go to life drawing stop me from doing life drawing. So you just make it as you go. Here, I began kind of having this selective omission, meaning like I'm only doing a torso and like partial leg. And also making a very clear distinction that like that's where I'm stopping. Almost like if you were doing a bust or a cast and then okay, I'm not doing arms. So this is it. You get the head and then the torso. So I'm treating a lot of these almost like sculptures and having that clear break. To me, it's just an appealing way of ending a drawing. It adds a little bit of rhythm if you just kind of have a clear border. Like here, for example, I do that. It almost like frames the entire piece. It's part of the design of the page. And I think because I have so much pencil markings going on, it's forgiving and it doesn't look weird that I'm just cutting off the feet with a very blunt line.
This lesson is from Eliza's style course. It's a bootcamp on developing your own style. In this course, you'll improve your line confidence, learn how to simplify something complex into a more personal, stylized illustration, and build a process to execute large, awesome pieces. Check it out at proko.com/Eliza. And the course is 20% off now while it's in pre-sale. So grab it before January 7th when the course launches.
Here I began omitting even more where part of the arm is implied, almost like a ghostly figure kind of appearing from the page. And then I really pushed it here where I wanted to do a piece where you barely have any information on the paper, but you kind of understand that this figure is laying down, hands are crossed. It's just like a very, very minimal thing. But also I wanted to be true to life and show that I know my proportions. So even the relationships of where hands versus the implied torso, everything, it should be in the right spot just so that your own mind completes the drawing. But I was having fun with this. I think it was a cool exercise in seeing how much I can get away with. Here, I liked the idea of having a very geometric silhouette. And again, within this simplified and rather pushed silhouette, I wanted to do shading that's true to life. So, like this shade here between the elbow bone and the front of the arm. This is very specific thing that you wouldn't normally do unless you have either reference or live drawing, and I've done it enough where I think it's like I've memorized it. It's part of my shorthand, which is why I do it. But it's the small details that really show that you know anatomy very well versus kind of cookie cutter shading. So really paying attention to these small details and memorizing them will make your work stand out. Here's not necessarily omission. If anything, it's more stuff on top of each other, so there's a lot of arms overlapping, but the omission part is in kind of keeping the focal point to the upper body, and then the lower body, again, is implied. So all the rest of the torso and the legs are not there, but I think the position of the arms definitely suggests where things fall. Here I went from kind of a life drawing approach to more illustrative, thinking about design, but also having a figure that's relatively true to life. The shading is what you would do if you would be doing life drawing or academic drawing. Here I have a ton of live drawing poses overlaid on top of each other. But again, I think because every line and every shading is very intentional, you can distill a lot of information just by even looking at this kind of chaos of lines. More omission, very selective, kind of like figuring out what draws my attention to a pose and really like putting just that on paper. And then I have illustrative pieces just for fun. I get into more like fantastical creatures, lots of masks. I have this series here of masks. Again, all based in life, meaning I have either references with me or they were based on poses from life drawing. I sometimes take pictures if that's allowed. If it's not allowed, don't do it. I was just playing around with the story of this masked creature that got a hold of the moon, and the moon is this almost like its little friend. So here they're talking, they're chatting. Here the masked figure is protecting the moon like a kid. A lot of times when I do live drawings, I also can just focus on a specific part of the pose, like the hands. I do that a lot, especially if the poses are too quick. I can just use the time of however many minutes I have, 2, 3, 5, and really like do that, because then you'll get more information on the paper than if you were just trying to get everything on the paper. So being selective helps you actually make the best use of your time. So again, limitation can push you to do these decisions that end up being very beneficial in the long run of, how you select what to include, what to exclude. This is hard decision making, way harder than you would think if you don't have the practice. This is when I switched to red for a while. And the reason was because I was heavily relying on the blending step here, and I needed a break from it. I needed to see what I can do with just cross-hatching, even if it's minimal, just to see like if I was using the blending step as a crutch or was it actually part of my shorthand now. But it is very difficult to blend because of how waxy it is, so it's almost like a dense color pencil. So I was trying to get the blending of a stump, but there were just very light markings. More zoo. Not really loving this pose, which is fine. It's just a little odd. But this was the pose of the giraffe. Believe it or not, it was weird. If it feels effortless, to me, that's an indication that I'm on the right track. I'm just in the zone and things are coming quickly. So to me, feeling effortless is a good indication that you are in sync with your own sensibility. I was experimenting with more red and layering color on top. These are all color pencils with some whiteout. So a little bit of liquid here. And whiteout gives that almost like a ghostly look to the pencil. It doesn't really blend it, but it creates like a hazy film. It can be hard to manipulate, but for some reason I was really enjoying using whiteout versus white paint, for example. It dries a little slower, so I like that. It has that waxy look that complemented the pencil. Here I brought back the blending step with the red. So going back from just red to now having red and a little bit of stump. This is my girl. When she was 7, she was helping me paint. More of that, more red and pencil. Very light shading here. Now I'm going away from the red, but still having, so again, more pencil here and less red, and vice versa. I was really holding on to that red for a while. as I flip to the pages, a lot of the memories come back. So that's the cool thing about a sketchbook is you're almost going back in time and tracking your own progress, even the thought process behind it. Even if the art doesn't evolve, you do remember what went in your mind, even like from one page to another. Because a lot of times one page inspires the next or gives an idea like, oh, let me try this. Just my boy here eating some watermelon. Looking back, I wish I did more red in the beginning. So I want to say that the idea of the red probably came like a third in. I was like, it's a red sketchbook. I should actually call it that. Since this is 2019, 2020, that's when I quit Pixar. After almost 10 years there. I think it was like 9.5 years. And a little bit of it is while I was there, and then the rest is when I was not there. So that's like a very nostalgic, bittersweet moment because I love my team and I love the people there. I guess I wanted to continue drawing and pushing it, which is why having sketchbooks to me is instrumental in keeping the muscle going regardless of the situation or like life changes and everything. Some sketchbooks I do have a goal. I have a few that are dedicated to life drawing, and I like that because it's intentional. There's some kind of coherence. I can even reference older work that's in the same realm than others. I have other sketchbooks that are completely random. It really depends on the mood. Some are more exploratory, so I will even have sketchbooks dedicated to just thumbnailing. I keep it themed, I think, because it creates a bigger body of work. If there's some organization, if it's too random, it's hard for me to remember, okay, where did I do this or that? As you can see, even in these sketchbooks, there's enough live drawing mixed with personal work that it's not necessarily like a golden rule, but if you can do it, there's nothing wrong with categorizing your own work as you go and just have like multiple sketchbooks going at the same time.
And remember, Eliza's course is on its biggest discount while on pre-sale. The lessons start rolling out on January 7th, so get ready.